Socialism assumes that all the available knowledge can be used by a single central authority.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
It was morning in America, wasn't it?
Well, for a while it was, and then things started to change.
What if no matter who won an election, government stayed the same?
Who's the government? The government created nothing. The government, only they can do is steal and rob people with a gun and forcibly transfer wealth from one person to another.
A society that aims for equality before liberty will end up with neither equality nor liberty.
What if both parties supported welfare, war, debt, bailouts, and big government?
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything.
Property rights. We own ourselves. We own the effects of our actions. And government violates the non-aggression principle by creating a monopoly of force.
Any process to ascribe any status to any group of people, equality, inferiority, superiority, must necessarily reduce freedom.
America is no longer a free country by the standards of, say, 100 years ago.
Both sides use force to deal with these misplaced emotions. Both are authoritarians. Neither endorses voluntarism.
Basically, neocons are statists.
Well, you're saying that the police force is basically just an arm of these cartels. That's not always the case. The police often settle smaller disputes, whether
they've taken a monopoly on that actual legitimate service that we want to see provided for in a free market, and they've perverted it into what it is now.
What if both parties just want power and are willing to have young people fight meaningless wars in order to enhance that power?
I don't want anybody's legs shot off for some reason that is not justified, and it's not a declared war. I think that should be the litmus test of everybody in this country and everybody over on the Hill, too. If this war is worth fighting, are you willing to go and lose your legs, lose your life, or send your kids or send your grandkids?
If we're not going to be a country that goes by the rule of law when it's convenient or inconvenient, then what do we stand for?
Why don't you want somebody to stand on principle? Why?
It's unfortunate that politicians very often overlook the unintended consequences of their actions.
Where do you draw the line with our money?
It is not your money. In fact, if anybody could have predicted. Wait a minute, hold it.
They tell you what to believe all day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
The central bank is always going to be in the business of managing monetary policy.
So we're not a free market then? There is an invisible, there is a benevolent hand that touches us.
Absolutely. You're quite correct. To the extent that there is a central bank governing the amount of money in the system, that is not a free market, and most people call it regulation.
These things affect the quality of the money that in our system Americans are obliged to accept.
When we talk about electing a president or a Congress to run the economy better, they're missing the whole point.
What should the Fed do next?
They should all abolish the Fed and resign. That's what they should do.
What if all this is happening again?
It's the same path. The path is being laid out in front of us. History is repeating itself, only the names and places have changed.
Sir, I think you're an anarchist and you don't know it yet.
Do you hear me denying anything?
What if a government that manipulated us could be fired? What if a government that lacked the true and knowing consent of the governed could be dismissed? If libertarianism is right, then those are going to be more effective than one-size-fits-all, top-down, bureaucratically imposed, coercive solutions. What if we could do something about this?
Take that message to its extreme logical conclusion, or are at least asking, would we be better off with no government at all at this point?
If you find this to be a worthwhile message, spread it throughout the land.